Hi there, in this lesson we're going to look at how to change a top-heavy fraction into a mixed number. So the first thing I want to address is what is a top-heavy fraction. So I guess if you look at the top here, this fraction here, you can see that there's a 9 in the top and a 2 in the bottom. This is called a top-heavy fraction because the number in the top is bigger than the number in the bottom, i.e. the numerator is bigger than the denominator. A mixed number is basically something like 4.5 or 3 1/3, where you get a whole number with a wee fraction next to it. That's what a mixed number is. And our intention in this lesson is to turn a top-heavy fraction into a mixed number. Now, what does this actually mean? Well, it means we've got 9 halves. That's what this is saying to me. 9 halves. The 2 is denoting what size of fraction it is. The top number is telling me how many I've got of them. So I've got 9 halves. So there's a couple of ways to look at this. You can look at it as a picture, or you can look at it as a divide sum. I'm going to do both. So in terms of a picture, you could draw out 9 halves. Now I've chosen circles. I just think it's quite easy to represent. So I've got 9 halves. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now what I can do is I can put 2 halves together to make a whole. So you can see that would make a whole. This would make a whole. This would make a whole. This would make a whole. And I've got a half left over. So the answer to this is basically 4.5. 9 halves make 4.5 as a mixed number. But how do you get it without drawing a diagram every time? Because drawing a diagram is quite time consuming. Well, you can just see how many 2's go into 9. Well, 4. 2 4's are 8. And there's a remainder of 1. And that gives you this 4 part. And it gives you this wee bit at the end. So the answer is 4 wholes and a half. So that's quite a quick way of doing it instead of drawing the diagram at each time. Let's do another one with the diagram and then showing you how to do it quickly. Right, so we've got 11 over 4. So this is telling me I've got 11 quarters. So I've drawn that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And 4 quarters make up a whole. Okay, so there we go. I've got 1 whole. I've got 2 wholes. And I've got 3 quarters there. So 2 wholes and 3 quarters. So that's my answer, 2 3/4. But how do I get it without that? Well, 4 into 11. Well, how many 4's in 11? There's 2. 4 2's are 8, and there's a remainder of 3. And that's going to give me 2 3/4. Right, let's try and do it quickly without the diagram. Okay, so change the following improper fractions. That's another name for top-heavy fractions. So just don't worry about that. It's just top-heavy fractions into mixed numbers. So I've got 13 over 2. So in maths, that just means 13 divided by 2, basically. It's the same idea. I know it's written as a fraction, which is fine, but you can write it as 13 divided by 2. So we can essentially say, how many 2's in 13? Well, it's 6. But that gives you 12, so there's a remainder of 1. So the answer to this, in terms of a mixed number, is 6 wholes with a remainder of 1. So it's 1/2. Now what you'll notice is this number here is always the same as this number here, because we're saying we've got 13 halves, so that makes 6 wholes with 1/2 left over. So these numbers are always going to be the same. Again, if we move on to the next one, we've got 16 over 3 is a top-heavy fraction, which you can write as 16 divided by 3. To turn it into a mixed number. So how many 3's go into 16? Well, 5 go in. But that's 3 5's are only 15, so there's 1 left over, isn't there? So in terms of turning this into a mixed number, it's going to be 5 with 1/3 left over, because I've got 16 thirds. So it stands to reason that there's going to be there's a third left over, not a quarter or a fifth. So that's why these are the same numbers. Okay, I've got 3 to go. So 19 over 4. Well, how many 4's go into 19? Well, 4. 4 4's are 16. So I'm at 16, that's a remainder of 3. So the answer is 4 3/4. 19 quarters makes 4 wholes and 3/4 left over. Again, 22 over 7. Well, 22 divided by 7. Well, that's 3. But that makes 21, so there's 1 left over. So 3 wholes and 1/7 left over. Again, you can see that these numbers are the same because I'm dealing with sevenths, so my answer must have sevenths in it. Okay, last question here, 17 over 8. So 17 divided by 8, well that's 2. 2 8's are 16 and there's 1 left over. So it's 2 1/8. And that's how to change a top-heavy fraction, or improper fraction as it's sometimes called, into a mixed number.